Welcome to Between Soul and Sky. This is a soul-centered invitation to a spirit-led, soul-inspired podcast dedicated to guiding you on the evolutionary journey of the soul. Here's your host, Ricky from the Star Whisperer.
Welcome back to another episode of Between Soul and Sky. I am super excited to bring back another amazing guest for episode number 9. We have Jennifer James again for a part 2 episode of Grief Unfiltered. And Jennifer, thank you for coming on back and doing another episode together.
Thank you for having me, Ricky.
Definitely. And for those of you who didn't get a chance to hear the first episode, please go listen to the first episode of Grief Unfiltered. Jennifer is a master hairstylist of over 40 years. She is a mom of 2 children, an August Virgo, a lifelong question asker, and a coordinator of chaos, and now a second-time podcaster. When she's not creating beautiful blondes or enjoying time outside, she loves to write poems, nurture her garden, and spend time with her people. Jennifer lost her best friend, her sister, Melissa, just over 3 years ago, and honors her memory daily. If you'd like to stay up to date with Jennifer, you could follow her on Instagram. It's live, L-I-V, the number 2, be happy _. And I will put this in the description, depending on where you're watching this. Just look at the description of the video or the podcast episode to get the handle to follow her over on Instagram. Thank you for coming on back again. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that I think is really important to the both of us, which ties to how grief and loss influences relationships. Now, when we talk about relationships, we're not only referencing romantic dynamics, we're talking about family relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, how we even relate to ourselves and how we see ourselves, how we understand ourselves, how we relate to the world around us. When we go through grief, everything is changing. And so today's episode, we really want to explore how our relationship with the people that are around us in the world is changing from our personal experiences and the wisdom that comes with this, in hopes that it helps those of you that are listening to this today that may be going through the early stages of grief or have been, in this for a very long time or are being invited into grief. We hope that this creates a space for you to feel comfortable enough to feel those emotions. And as always, if you have questions, if you have stories, if you have anything that you'd love to share with us, please do. Jennifer and I would love to hear from you. You can either comment below here where the post is. You could send us a message over Instagram. If you have questions about anything that we shared today, please reach out. And in the following episode, part 3, we will gladly answer any of your questions that you guys have.
Absolutely.
So let's I think one of the first things I just want to think or get into when it comes to relationships and grief, and maybe this will be a good jump starter of a conversation for us. In your journey, you said it's been about 3 years. What surprised you the most about people, whether family, friendships, romantic ships, whatever it may be, or even yourself? What surprised you the most about people and how they responded to this chapter of your life?
I think what surprised me the most, besides how I felt in this bubble of grief, was, there was beauty in how some people handled it, and there was shock in how other people handled it. Um, for me, I felt like the veil of, my sister being the person that really kind of led everyone and kept all the ducks in the row. whether it was her friends or her family or her kids or even our relationship, holidays, um, everything. I felt like once she was gone, that veil came off of everyone, and for me, I felt like it exposed who people were when she wasn't there to kind of keep everybody in line.
Yeah. I love what you just brought up. This idea that when she was here, it's almost like everyone behaved a specific way. Everyone acted a specific way. They
Yes,
behaved because she was here, she was present, as if she was, like you said, that rock or the glue that kind of kept that what feels like an illusion or something that was being hidden beneath the surface. It's almost like in the passing that is removed for us to see certain people very clearly for who they are. Um,
yes,
and this is all over from friends and family and a lot. It could be anywhere. This could happen to anyone. Um, and the way that I describe this, I feel like when you lose someone that you're so close to, that is your best friend, nothing else matters at that point. It's like you just lost the central apex of your life.
that's exactly right.
And in that, it's like, holy shit, this is, it's like, was I wearing rose-colored glasses my whole life? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what was real?
Uh,
And it's a huge
you kind
question
of
mark.
were.
And then what happens is it catalyzes you to living more authentically. Um,
Yes,
because now you're like, I see things for how they are. Which kind of is going to pave way to my next question for you is that, one of the things that we talked a lot about in the first episode is the idea that for you, losing a sibling was already difficult in grief, but knowing that in
sure.
society, losing a sibling was not really talked about. There was not a lot of resources or information about losing a sibling. Um, and so, kind of a follow up to that one, but bringing it more into this dynamic of relationships is have you had any experiences, making friends with people or being friends with people that have siblings or have sisters? Um, have you found grief influencing your ability to have relationships or connections like that with people um, that have sisters or
Absolutely.
siblings or something like this?
Absolutely. Uh, that's still a tough one for me. I I happen to know a lot of sisters, and sure, they bicker and argue, and there's always the older sister syndrome and the younger sister syndrome, and they kind of butt heads, but they're close
Mhm.
and very similar to Melissa and I. And though I know a lot of women who are not close with their sisters, or maybe they don't have a sister, I also know some sisters that are close with one another. And I'm friends with both of them. Uh, there have been many times where I've been invited since my sister's passing to, go out to eat or go to the beach. And in theory, I would love that because I love both of them. But the reality is to see them together and to spend time with them and hear their inside jokes and see that connection is extremely painful
Yeah.
for me still after 3 years. And I love that they have that. And I can see that they cherish it. I mean, they don't even need to be told like, "Oh, you should cherish that." They do. Um, but it just kind of presents this reality of
Oh,
pain for me to be around them at this time. And there
sorry.
was a lot of guilt with that because I was, again, constantly turning down invites to go different places. And I wanted to, and I thought, oh, I could get through this. But the reality is I pictured sitting there at the restaurant feeling trapped as I, am alone on my side of the bench, looking
Yeah.
across at the two of them, even if they were bickering. Like I would love to bicker with my sister.
Yeah.
I would I would love to have an argument or like something petty and then go shopping and get over it and apologize to each other. I would just love that connection. And I love that they have it. It's just difficult to be around sometimes.
Totally. And I think that's so important to share because for anyone, no matter how we experience grief, um, the person that we are the individual, the person that we've lost, we don't have access to communicate with them anymore. And I think sometimes it's important for us to share what you just said, which is I love that you have this relationship. I love that.
I do.
It's difficult for me because I'm missing her. And it's a part of my healing journey. And I want y'all to go have fun and do all that. And
Yes. It's
one
a me
day,
issue for sure.
yeah, one day, um, one day maybe I'll be there and I'll be ready. But right now, this is how I feel because it has really is difficult. And unless someone has been in that experience where they've lost a sibling, they've
Yeah.
lost a parent, it's really hard to, I think, truly at a soul level comprehend.
Yes. It is.
Um, because it's easy to say I understand, and we talked a little bit about this in the first episode. It's easy to say I understand, but the question is, do you truly understand the feeling of not being able to see her or contact her or be able to have those teasing moments or being able to pick a fight or whatever? I don't have that anymore. And I think in that, this begins to mold the way that you view friendships and relationships. And I bet for those sisters, just as the example you provided, their support of you to say, I get it, sweetie, I get it, take the time you need, nurtures the friendship for you, right?
Yes.
Versus the friendships that are like, wow, you're not going to hang out with us again.
Right.
The we kind of talked a little bit about the idea of where individuals stop inviting you. Um, because at the core of it all, we want to be alone. We're processing. We're trying to understand. We're trying to adjust to this new reality. Our rose-colored glasses were just removed for after how many years? And it's almost like now you need to see the world in this new way. Um, so when it
Well, it's
comes
so
to
bright. It's so bright when those are removed that you almost then need sunglasses to kind of dim it.
yes, yeah, exactly. Or like it could be overwhelming, overbearing. And that's why solitude plays such an important role
Absolutely.
to be able to understand emotionally what we're going through.
Right. To
Um,
process it, you have to
yeah.
process it.
And so in that, um, one of the things that I wanted to say or ask, I should say, um, have you now today, I don't want to look at it like a requirement, but do you feel like your standards of connection have changed as far as what is important for you after going or as you go through grief, I should say? Do you feel like what is important to you or what your values are for friendships or relationships or even romantic partnerships have shifted for you?
Absolutely. I was already in a process when I first moved here as a single mom and not dating anyone of already reevaluating that. And this just put like a super focus on that.
Yeah.
Um, it's weird. It's like when when someone that you love and that you're close to passes away, you have this hyper focus of people's intentions. You can see
Mm,
so clearly of what their intentions, and some of them you for the first time see how good their intentions are. And you see them in a different light through that darkness. They are a light to you. And you're like, wow, I never knew that that person could be so bright for me. And then there are other people who you thought were that had your best intentions in mind. And really, without that person in the world, that special person, and it could be the same special person to both you and them, you start to see that their intentions were really based on ego and selfishness, or
yeah.
a dark purpose.
Yeah,
And it really does, it brings clarity to
totally.
what others intentions were, and really what maybe their relationships were with that person,
Yeah,
uh other than what they tried to mirror while they were there. And without their mirror, that all breaks to the ground and you can really see who people are. Absolutely.
totally. I just had this visual as you were just saying this as the person that we love passes away. It's almost like they wave a magic wand because they could see everything. They could
Yes, they
see
can.
through everything. And the malicious behavior, the narcissistic behaviors, the loving behaviors, the compassionate, the unconditional behaviors become very clear. And
Yes.
you could see people for who they are.
Yeah.
Um, and as I will say this, I think anyone in grief could potentially agree that when you're in the stages of grief, there is kind of like a mindset shift that goes on where you do start evaluating people's energies as far as how certain things are giving or receiving, what's going on. You're measuring things differently because you're hurt, you're wounded. And when certain people's actions show up as taking from you or selfish or um
Insidious.
insidious in that way, it's like your brain creates like a list. I like to call it the shit list. And you're like, here we go. Because the brain will never forget that on this day, at this time, this person did this. And as
Hmm.
much as the individual who is going through grief would love to forget a moment, what happens is emotionally charged memories are
Hmm.
very difficult to get to let go of. And so, especially when it's like they're twisting the knife, they're doing something like that. And it alters the way that then, like you said, the way that you start looking at relationships and you start looking at friendships. Something that you and I were talking about is um, finding people that understand the concept of humility and humbleness, being able to recognize that the world isn't going to be always about you. And
Right.
that sometimes there are other people that really need you and you have to be able to think about them. And one of the things I was going to ask you is when you look at the people, the lights, the bright lights that came into your life that were there for you, what made them different? What made them stand out for you? What character traits? How would you, for those of us who are grieving right now, what do those character traits look like? Or how did they show up for you where you were like, that's a good person. I got to keep them around. That's a good relationship I want to maintain.
That's a great question. I, for me, it was like this, we said the veil, but you start to really listen to people and realize that their words and their actions,
Yeah.
you realize whose words and whose actions don't match up. And then the light people, the people that are genuinely grieving, not only honor your grief, because a lot of the people, you know, in my circle, after some time of isolation, I will say, because
Yeah.
for a while there was, some isolation. But
Yeah.
I feel like after the isolation, I feel like the light and bright people were still there with zero bitterness, no expectations other than open arms, forgiveness for the messy part of the beginning. Because when somebody first dies, it's messy. Everybody's feelings are hurt, and you just really want to kind of go inward and honor your own grieving,
Yeah.
even though people around you are grieving the same person. And so those people on the other side of your isolation that are just there, and maybe you were snippy with them, or maybe you got irritated with them at some point in your grieving process, or maybe you didn't show up for them as someone grieving. Those people that just open armed, just let it go, and reel you in and just hold you in silence, those are the bright light people. And they
I
forgive
like this
you.
term, the bright light people. I
Yeah,
like
bright
this.
light people. And
It's a
we
great
need
answer.
them. And
Yeah.
there's not many. There
It's a
aren't
great
many.
answer. That's a beautiful answer. And I think something that I'm just hearing is there's an unconditionality to these people where
Yes.
I don't need anything from you, but I want to be there for you because I actually have love for you that is not dependent upon what you give me.
Hmm.
There's compassion and understanding. Now, I'm going to throw a tough one at you. I'm just teasing. But how would you advise, because I'm sure people that are listening to this will experience this. How would you advise someone that is going through grief that has family members or friends, just relationships that weren't there for them and they're feeling perplexed on how to handle it? Do you have any wisdom on your
I,
experience
I
that worked for
I would
you?
say that you have to really step back and let yourself know that it's not revenge, that it's resurrection,
Mm,
and that you're not cutting people off. You're just not shrinking to stay connected. I would say to just honor yourself. And you know, in your gut, you have to listen to your gut. And you have to know that some people just, are for a season or a reason.
yeah.
They're not meant to be there for the long run, and they're not capable of being there. And that's
And
okay.
and maybe that's exactly what grief is meant to do, is lift the veil so you can see the family member or the friend or the partner that they're not going to be there for you.
Right.
And
Or a
that's okay.
boss
Or
or
a
a
boss,
business partner. I mean, it could be
anything.
anything. Yeah. It could be
A-
anyone.
And it's okay for you to take a step back. It's okay for you to reevaluate those connections
Absolutely.
because just because you're my boss, you're my friend, or you are a family member by blood does not mean that you're bound to that person forever.
No. It's like the quote where they say, some people are the leaves on the trees. They fall off easy and they're
Yeah.
seasonal. They're
Yeah.
in for a season. And then, some people are the branches and they're a little more sturdy, but they too die and break off over time.
Eventually.
They're fragile. And then really the people that are the trunk, the core,
Yeah.
the roots, they'll show themselves. They're there no matter what weather comes along.
Yeah.
If the sky's bright, they're there. And if the sky is gloomy, they're there.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shows you just have to really pay attention,
Totally.
and we've all, I feel like when someone first passes, you're vulnerable. you're vulnerable in a way that you aren't even prepared for. And
Mm-mm.
so it's almost easy for an insidious person
To
or
take
a person
advantage.
with a motive or a narcissist or it's weird because when somebody dies you almost feel like you have this karmic protection that's going to come around you because you're in such a low place that you're like, oh well, this happened to me, so almost like nothing else, who would be mean to me or who would take advantage of me or who would break my trust now, like who would do that right now to me. And so I feel like you're so much more offended and so much more betrayed when that does happen. It's like being kicked when you're down.
100%.
So, and I feel like everyone can relate to that. Everyone who is in mourning or in grief, especially the first year or so, in the beginning, the raw stages. I feel like everyone can kind of look back on their story and be like, that was my, that was the person that kicked me when I was down.
Yeah.
And it feels so much worse of a kick because you cannot fathom that somebody would do that. You know,
100%.
it could be, it could be that, somebody that you're working with or that you're uh, doing a solid for career wise, quits or leaves you or ghosts you. It could be a family member that you thought was a rock and you were just a pawn in whatever they were playing.
Yeah.
It could be, a romantic partner that, let you down while you were grieving and maybe they betray you in some way and you're like, wow, how can that
1,000%.
even happen? How can that
Yeah.
happen?
How could someone do something like that?
During this fragile time for me.
Exactly. And
Um, so
I
that
love that you
clarity,
just said this. I love that you just said this because I will tell you, every single person listening to this will sit there and say, exactly.
they'll know their person.
They'll know exactly who fucked them over.
That's right.
And I say it how it is because it feels that way
As you
when
should.
you're in a space mourning and grieving something so real that you'll never have access to again. And someone
Hmm.
has the audacity to twist it even more. And it's difficult. And I could hear how do you forgive someone like that? How do you heal that? How do you and that's something why you and I are here together to have these conversations because
Yeah.
sometimes the answers don't happen overnight. Actually, the answers won't happen overnight. The answers will happen over time. And
Well, sometimes it's not really forgiveness of the other person, it's forgiveness of yourself for allowing yourself to be put in a position where I don't want to say allowed it to happen because sometimes you don't even know it's happening until afterwards and you're like,
yeah.
wow, hindsight is 2020. But you have to forgive yourself
Hmm.
for for being there, for being for allowing that person to even be in the spot of significance for you to kick you while you were down,
Yeah.
you know
100%.
and that's a character issue on their part. That's not
Has
something that you
nothing.
need to carry. You can set that down and not carry it anymore.
100%. And in that, I think, unfortunately, in life and in grief, people are going to talk. People are going to cause drama. People are going to cause problems. And you ask yourself, like, do you have nothing better to do with your time than like this is supposed to be such a sacred, special moment of my life, and
Mm.
you're tainting it. And that's something that I was sharing with you that wherever you are at in your journey with grief, is recognize that this is one of, if not the most important moment of your journey that will influence and affect every other core area of your life, from your health to your relationships,
Sure.
to how you see yourself, to your faith, religion, or spirituality. It affects every core area. And you could see a relationship, because we're talking about relationships today, friendships,
Hmm.
romantic or family, unhealed dynamics and grief will show up in those relationships.
They'll slap
And
you in the face.
yes, exactly. And I think one of the things I always say is engage with grief and what is showing up for you. It's not always easy, and that was something you were saying. It's not always easy, but it's cathartic.
Hmm.
Sometimes the emotions are heavy, sometimes they're shitty, sometimes they're happy. But in all of those emotions and all of those feelings we go through, when you engage with it, it is catharsis for you, which is going to allow for you to have better friendships, better family relationships, better romantic relationships, better health. Um, things will you'll see the influence of the you engaging with grief. You'll always carry that stone, which is what you said last time,
Hmm.
but you navigate kind of the river of life differently. Um, so I love what you
It's,
said. I love what you said.
yeah.
Sorry, I just think what you said, people are gonna be like, yes. Sorry. What were we gonna say? Go ahead. What was
I'm just, you and I had had a conversation too, and circling back to just the fact that your person that you lost, they are guiding you. They're showing you who people are, and they're rooting for you and steering you towards some things and away from some other things,
yeah,
and towards some people and away from some people. And I really believe that. We were talking about feeling so differently spiritually connected. It's not the same relationship you have with your person, but it's definitely a communication that you can feel.
totally.
Whether it's signs from them or hearing their voice telling you what to do when you're in those quiet moments. And I think those are important, you know, like there are moments to really reflect on, because if you just feel like Wonder Woman, where you're like reflecting all of the bad things away
Yeah,
constantly, but not processing them, there's no growth there. So even though it's painful to go through that in a time where you're already at a low point and
yeah,
you're already vulnerable, and you think, I can't take one more thing. If I lost my job right now, or if somebody else passed away right now, or if somebody betrayed me right now, if somebody kicked me while I was down right now, I wouldn't be able to make it. But the reality is those things are going to happen. You learn to be more resilient, more cautious, and more strong, so that you can, because life is going to keep throwing things at you, and you feel like you're already juggling three things and you're trying to keep
yeah,
the balls in the air, and then all of a sudden life throws you a fourth ball and you're like, okay, hold on, and your rhythm has to change so that you can keep them all together, and then another one
yeah.
comes and another one comes. And so your choices are to drop all the balls, which that's not a choice,
No,
or to just learn how to add that one more thing in, and keep the pattern and the consistency going.
totally. And you know what people always say is that the universe, source, or God, whatever you believe, would not bring something into your life if you were not designed or ready to handle it.
Right.
And I always say that every life experience you go through, the intention behind these experiences are to help us evolve our consciousness. We're
Yes.
evolving beings. We are not stagnant. change is truly our constant. And when we accept that everything, even you and me here today, this is a part of our own evolution of our consciousness, our souls are all seeking to evolve. So when new moments show up that feel like, I don't know if I can do it, it's normal sometimes for us to feel that. But when you remind yourself that we are in this process of evolution, you can do this. That's why you're here. You came here to do this. This is your human experience, and you're going to grow through every single step. You can take your time. It might be hard, it might be difficult, it might be emotional, but you can do it. It's not a matter of can you. You will. And I feel like there's a message in this for me of I think we all have unlimited potential to show
I
up
agree. I
to
agree.
whatever challenge we receive. And with doing astrology and doing tarot readings and doing counseling, I've heard a lot of stories. And there's a lot of shitty things that have happened that you hear. But I will tell you, out of those moments are born the most resilient, beautiful, inspirational human beings you will ever meet.
I believe that 100%.
And
And
so I love that you said that.
when you ask your higher power or whatever it is that you go to
Yeah.
for strength or patience or
Yeah.
guidance or uh the ability to heal, you're not just given those things. Like they're not just like, okay, here's patience, here's perseverance, here's strength, but you are given the opportunity to endure those things so that you can then achieve
Yeah.
those 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 necessary things in your life that you need. And y- we have to remember that, because sometimes we feel like, we're in a pressure cooker when really we're just being given the tools that we need.
I love this. How can you seek patience? Patience is learned from impatience.
Mhm.
And we are going to be given circumstances that are going to encourage you to step from impatience into patience.
Yes.
How can you achieve or understand forgiveness if you're not given circumstances and situations to practice
To do
forgiveness?
so. Yeah.
And you can't have one without the other. And that is something I always talk about when I teach astrology about the polarities. You can't have something without having this opposite side to it.
Right.
So for us to achieve some level of forgiveness, why do we need to achieve forgiveness? Where is it coming from? And I do think that that's a huge lesson that I think shows up. Forgiveness. I hear from so many people in grief their relationship with guilt and resentment or shame, those thoughts that come up, and they just want forgiveness. And I look at it like, well, here's the optimist side of me. If you already are in a space of guilt or the space of resentment or the space of shame, you're already here, which means you understand this emotion. That means you done half the battle.
Right.
You understand now where I'm heading towards forgiveness or whatever that next emotion is. Um, which was one of the questions I was going to bring up around guilt. Um, I think guilt definitely shows up in grief and will show up within our relationships. Um, and resentment is another emotion that I wrote down. Um, if we don't feel like we've been loved and supported, if we feel like our partner wasn't there for us, or, I was having a conversation with someone the other day who was only given a day for bereavement. And that can create a lot of anger and resentment towards
Yeah.
the company or the business or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Um, or to the family members that are like, oh, if you ever need help, I'll be there for you. And if you ever need anything, I'll be there for you. And when you're seeking for someone to be there for you, the door's not opening. Um, and so I was leaning into this idea of for those that feel this way, that have the guilt, that have the resentment, um, you have any advice for those individuals on how to navigate these emotions?
So guilt, when you say, give me an example of those who have guilt.
Let's
The
say feeling
person,
guilty about never going in the sense, never going to hang out with people or feeling guilt over how you've changed or people are telling you that you've changed. Um, or feeling like I feel I could have done more for my loved one. Or I feel like feel guilty because I can't be there for my family or my friends. Like those types of thoughts.
I think, well, there is a lot of guilt, and there's different guilt.
Yeah, there's totally different
There's
ones.
just to kind of narrow down a little bit of that topic. I think there's a lot of guilt of things that you didn't say or do for your person or to your person before they left, before they were gone. Um, that's a totally different question than maybe what you're getting at.
Yeah.
So we can do both.
Yeah.
Um, but circling back to the aftermath, right? Or the guilt in the aftermath. Uh, for me personally, uh, I I had a lot of guilt because I had a lot of brain fog. I had a lot of. I really felt like I emotionally shut down. I felt like I was just on autopilot, and so I feel, looking back now in that tumultuous first year, even the first 2 years, there were a lot of people that reached out to me, or I mean, really kind things. They sent things, flowers showed up, soups, um, foods, j- notes on my car. I had a friend who left me the sweetest note on my car the first few months after my sister passed while I was at work. She drove to my work out back where I park and left the sweetest note on my car and just said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you." And she folded it like in high school, and there was like a drawing on there, and it was so sweet. It meant the world to me when I got it. And I was numb at the time, so I never acknowledged that note. I never let her know how special that was to me. Um, and she was more of an acquaintance than and a friend, but not to the level where we kind of drifted apart. Life went different
Yeah.
ways for us. But to this day, I have uh, guilt over the smallest things. Like I feel like I wasn't, kind of like your mama raised you better to
Yeah.
to be more thankful and to, and that's weird to me because it's like etiquette kind of goes out the window when you're grieving. Like,
Yeah. Totally.
you're not going to write a thank you note for telling me I'm sorry you lost your sister. I'm not going to I'm not going to respond to everything, or some things I just take inwardly and I
Yep.
didn't act upon. And now that enough time has passed, I can kind of look back on different gestures and kind things that were done. And I really just hope that everyone that did those kind things and that were genuinely open hearted to me, even if I didn't respond, just know that it pops into my mind. Like I do appreciate that,
Yeah.
you know, not to just sit here and be like, well, this person did this that pissed me
Yeah.
off, and this person did this that was shitty. I mean, there's those too. But I really like to concentrate more in
On the
life on
positive.
the beautiful things, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some beautiful things that
Oh
happen
yeah.
when you're grieving. And I don't want those to, I don't want those around me who did beautiful things to think that I don't appreciate them.
1000%. I love that. And that's a part of this. One thing that you and I were talking about is that part of the changes in relationships is the washing away of the bad, but
Mhm.
also the kind of the invitation to the great ones that are there.
Sure. The
And
welcoming in, come in, please.
you'll get the messages from the right people. You'll get the soups from the right people that you're not even expecting.
Hmm.
Um, and those are the people that understand. There's an understanding. They understand you. And those are the types of relationships that you want to nurture. And when you are looking for relationships, or if you are looking to date in the future, you're going to want to include those types of people into your life. Um, one of the other things I had a note on was how, we didn't touch too much on romantic partnerships. Um, you know, how romance and love can change through grief. Um, I didn't know if you wanted to comment on that because, I actually was talking to someone the other day who had lost someone, and they were mentioning how should they walk away from their current partner because they don't feel as if they're being supported. They feel like their partner's just trying to fix them. And it was an interesting comment because what she's saying is, I just want to be heard. I don't want to be
Right,
fixed. I just want
right.
to feel what I'm feeling. And so, do you have any words of wisdom for those that are in romantic relationships, um, and feeling the difficulty, or meeting someone? Because that's another common thing. I don't know if you've heard this, but many people, I've heard this, have met people out of their grief. They've met someone. So altering those relationship dynamics.
Yeah, so I do actually that applies to me personally. Uh I've I've met someone since my sister passed. Um and I had a really I was single for a very long time. My sister wanted me to meet someone that was the person for me and that honored me and uh reciprocated my heart and my warmth and my giving and all of those things. And oddly enough, uh, it happened, and it happened when I least expected it. I was I was choosing the bear at the time,
Yeah.
and then this man came into my life that um, I can say right now that even if it didn't work out, the time that I've had and the experience and the gift of pure love that I've experienced up until this minute right now is worth everything
Yeah.
to me, everything. And I had a real sadness about me before meeting this person, about me meeting someone one day and them not getting to meet my sister.
Hmm.
And it was almost debilitating to me to move forward uh, with even considering dating someone in the future. This is
Mhm.
prior to meeting my person.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, wow, that's just never going to happen because I'm never going to want to be with someone that doesn't know the essence of Melissa, that they don't, that she doesn't get to pinch their cheeks and tell me, call me and tell me I like him so much, or,
Yeah.
the sisterly conversations, or what do you think about this when we have our first fight? Like, and her kind of grounding me and being like, well, I mean, that happens, or that's just men, or a lot of men who do that, or they can't communicate, or
Yeah.
whatever it was. I really thought, wow, it was like losing my arm. I didn't know how that was going to look for
Yeah.
me to be in a relationship of somebody who's never met her before, or wasn't going to be able to meet her.
Yeah.
And so, um, I think I had mentioned that I physically got ill. Um, from numerous things after my sister passed. There was trauma and a little menopause and um, some not healthy relationships uh, with you know, some people that caused me a lot of cortisol release and just I felt ill. So when I first met my person, I kind of led with my dysfunction,
Yeah.
with the humor of that I'm going to put some fun in the dysfunction of that I have, you know, odd eating abilities. I'm sensitive to a lot of foods, so I'm not going to be real fun. I'm grieving. So I lost my person, my best friend, my sister, my second mother, my business partner. She was all of those things to me, and she's gone. Oh, and by the way, I haven't dated somebody in 6 years, and I kind of hate men right now. But you want to go on a date? You sure you want to ask
Yeah.
me out? And so this person was okay with all of that and just honored me for who I was. He was the bright light people.
Yeah.
He was one of those. And I needed that. It was actually it was a must. It would have been a deal breaker if he had not been.
Oh,
And so I really feel full circle. And it's now been a year and a month since I met him. I feel full circle that uh, Melissa sent me him.
yeah.
She knew exactly what I needed, and she knew exactly the timing of when I had already done my healing for being single that long. She knew I had
Yeah.
done where I asked for guidance and I wasn't just given it. I had to experience and follow that path.
Yeah.
And I really feel so strongly, and it sounds so cliche because I've actually heard other people in my life say this about my sister, that she sent me blah blah blah. And who am I to say? I just feel like it's overly used, but I genuinely do feel like she gifted me this person
Mm.
in my life. And he's everything that I've not had in the past. He's genuinely kind. There's no conditional love. There's no motive. There's, a lot of similarities. We actually have the same exact birthday.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, we Virgos are kind of difficult. So to have an understanding of another Virgo
It's
uh,
great.
is is great because not all Virgos are the same either. There's a September Virgo and there's a August Virgo. And we're actually very different in between the months, so it's perfect. And
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy, and I thank Melissa all the time, even
Yeah.
for the experience. Like I said, I just for the experience of feeling actual love, and also letting myself learn how to love someone else
Yeah.
has been very healing for me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I think that'll bring a lot of hope um for people. I think um again, it ties into the beauty and the sadness the
Hmm.
beauty and the grief. Um, is there are
That's
gifts that come
exactly
out
it.
of it. And
Yeah.
this individual was a gift. Um, I have two more questions for you, if that's
So
okay.
far, we'll
So
see.
far. Right. Well, at this moment, it's been a decent gift.
Yes, it has been.
Um, I had two more questions for you, and one of them was, for someone that's listening to us right now that may be feeling alone or abandoned and feeling kind of isolated in their grief. They don't feel supported in their relationships, whether it's family or friends or a
Right.
loved one. Um, what would you want them to know right now?
So if I'm really going to be honest, it's going to
Yeah.
be that you're going to have times where you don't feel supported. And there's no bullshit. It's not, I'm not going to tell you. There's days that are just really lonely. And and I can tell you there are days that are much better than that to follow. And that sometimes you just have to sit with the ugly, and that
Mm.
eventually in that dark, lonely tunnel that you are in, and it's not, that you're just making it dark and lonely. It is
Oh yeah.
dark and lonely, and it is raw and it is ugly. But I can tell you that I promise you, just hang in there. Just hang in there and have faith. Think about the positives and the loving memories and moments that lift you up. You don't have to think about, if they pass suddenly, you don't have to think about their passing. Celebrate the life, celebrate the moments that you had with that person, celebrate the gift that out of all the people in the world, that person was picked to be your person.
Yeah.
And I promise you that there is a light, and it is so dim at first, and you will see that light. Just walk towards it. It gets brighter and brighter. It does. And, it might even be that you see that light and you're walking towards it. And then you might have one day where the light goes off and you're like, what the hell? I was just able to see a little bit of a light.
Mhm.
And now it's dark again. And right when you just start to get all upset about it, there's the light again. It
Exactly.
does come back, but you can't see the light if you give up. So you
Exactly.
have to keep going. You have to keep army crawling through that dark tunnel.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing advice. And as much as we do feel alone, I always say this, we're never, ever, 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 ever truly alone. And
No,
never forget that. Gratefully, we live in a society and a culture today where there are a lot of beautiful communities for grief. Um,
there's getting
that
to be more and more.
and there's more people growing in discussing and having these types of conversations. That's why we always invite y'all to ask questions and to engage and share your stories. Um, so you don't feel abandoned and you don't feel lost. You feel as if you could share those stories or those thoughts or those questions. Because there are no silly questions, there are no stupid questions, because I guarantee you we've all thought about it.
Yes.
Or engaged with it in some way, shape, or form. My last question for you was thinking reflectively. If you could have a conversation and say one thing to the version of yourself at the beginning of your grief with where you are today, what would it be?
To honor myself.
Mm.
It's funny. It's a great question because I've actually asked myself that before after going through the whole process. And I just would tell myself in the very beginning, which is what I already knew to do, was to put myself first. They tell you on the airplane, put the oxygen on yourself first so that you can
Yeah.
better help others. And they do that for a reason. And I know that. I know that. I know that, your cup runneth over is, you can't give somebody something if you're not full yourself, if you're not
Yeah.
filled with what you need. You're pouring from an empty cup. And so I know that. And I did not honor that in the beginning. I put my pause on hold and I did the politeties and I did for others things that I should not have done. I should have honored myself and just taken what I needed. And when I had extra to give, then given.
Yeah.
I tried to pour from an empty cup for the first year and a half of my sister passing. And all I did was delay my own grieving and delay honoring myself and how I felt during that time. And not only was it a lesson for then, but it's a life lesson. I will take that for the rest of my life to 100% not be manipulated into trying to fill my sister's shoes or trying to help when really it's that, you know, you're being used for uh, other people's convenience. And you have to stop explaining your shift because anyone who only loves the version of you that tolerated disrespect
Mm.
will never celebrate the version of you that finally respects yourself.
Yes. 100%. A million percent. I couldn't have said that better. I love that. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful line. Um, I hope that whoever's listening, wherever you all are in the world, that you really sit with that because I think no one is going to put us first as much as we'd like to think that. And this isn't being cynical. But what you do learn in grief is it really does become a situation where if you don't put yourself first, no one else will.
They won't.
Um, and when you do get anchored in yourself and you are able to put yourself first, you can actually show up, like you were saying, and be there for others. Um, but you got to be there for yourself first. Um,
Yes.
and I think part of grief really, truly is an invitation from the soul to come back home for a little bit and take some time to go within, embrace the quietude, the isolation, the solitude, and get to know yourself. You know, I always say the most important relationship, the most important commitment you will ever have is with yourself.
Hmm.
The worst feeling is to betray yourself. And I think loyalty begins with you.
That's right.
And I think it's a huge, huge thing that I love what you said. I think that's great advice.
I'd like to go back real quick, though, and answer part of the other question that you asked me.
Yeah.
For those out there who maybe have a partner and they don't feel,
Loved or supported.
yes, I just want to say that, well, two things. There's two parts to this. One, it's very important that you have these conversations when you are dating someone because these are going to come up. These life moments are going to come up, and you really need. It's not about how much weight they can bench press or how much money they have or what kind of car they have or where they can take you on vacation and all of those types of things that don't matter on the day that your person passes.
Hmm.
So in addition to saying that, it is very hard to be on the other side of that and be the partner that is supporting. So I would ask that you have grace for your person and communicate your feelings, even if it's that you need to communicate to your partner that you don't feel honored in that way, and that maybe suggest to them because they might just not know. Maybe suggest
Exactly.
to them how they can honor you better or maybe even how they can give you a little space so that you can do it without them trying to fix it
Love that.
for you, and just be there to listen to you, to understand you, and not to respond to you. Sometimes we just need that. And so,
I billion percent.
yes.
I
So I
love
wanted to
that.
just connect with that question because there might be somebody out there that actually needs some kind of steering in the answer for that.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to not
Yeah.
acknowledge that. It's
And
a
I
big
love I
thing.
love that what you just said, because sometimes when someone in a relationship, they don't know what to do, and sometimes we think it should be common sense.
Right.
But what's
And it's
common
not.
sense to us is not common sense to you or them.
Well, common sense
So
is not that common either.
that's a good pun. Um, and I feel like when we to break it is to communicate.
It
Go
really
th-
is.
and when you can break it down, you can have a breakthrough. And I feel like in relationships, it all starts with the communication. It's a totally separate subject. If after you have conversations and communications, if nothing is changing, that's a whole different beast. But if you're
Absolutely.
in the beginning stages and you don't feel like they are listening, you don't feel like they are holding that space for you, simply having a conversation. It may
Yes.
take putting your brave shoes on, putting your courage feet
Yes.
on, and being like, oh, I don't want to do this. But you might need to, not only for you, but for them, because it'll
To
give them an
authentically
opportunity to
connect.
show up.
Yes.
Exactly.
To
And it gives them a
authentically connect
chance.
and let them, teach them. You can teach if you're a partnership, you can teach someone. They might not be a great communicator, or they might not like conflict and they see it as conflict.
Yep.
Or it might spark a fear in them that they don't realize they have, and so they shut down.
Correct.
And
Bingo.
so if you authentically communicate with them and show them your heart, uh, you know, someone with good character, which hopefully, our partners have good character, will absolutely honor that and be teachable in those moments.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But I couldn't have said that better. Um, and one of the things you and I were talking about off camera, sometimes someone that is grieving doesn't want to be related to, they just want to be heard.
Mhm.
And sometimes the best way to say that is, I don't want your advice. I don't want your opinion. You don't even have to comment. I just need you to listen, not be on your cell phone, not have thoughts. I just want you to be with me and hear the words that I have to say.
Be a
It,
sponge.
it's like I have to get this off my chest
Yes.
because this is how I feel. And if you're someone who's listening that is with someone who's grieving, don't take things personally.
So hard, but yes, don't.
So I appreciate you. This was an amazing conversation. I love it. I think there's so
I
much
loved
to
it
this
too,
that I
Ricky.
could keep going with. You and I could be here for like a 6-hour tea conversation. Like, let's refresh our tea and let's keep going.
This might
um,
be a 10-part
it
podcast. Who
is.
knows?
Hey, but if it helps one person every day and someone new takes a piece of wisdom, it is so worth it.
Sometimes
Um,
it's just a message you need to hear.
100%. I get one every time I talk to you.
Oh,
So
I get one every time I talk to you too, Ricky. Thank
thank
you.
you. I appreciate you. And thank you
I
so much for
appreciate you.
everyone that is here tuning in. I just want to remind everyone, if you want to follow and keep up with Jennifer, her Instagram is live, the number two, be happy underscore. This is on Instagram. You could find it in the description to this episode if you want to go follow her. Keep up with her with what she's doing. There's a lot of exciting things down the pipeline. And I just appreciate you again for being here. As always, thank you for being a part of this. And I hope all of you are having a beautiful day wherever you are. Again, if you have questions, make sure to reach out to us over Instagram. So thank you again, Jennifer. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.